We are in a world now where the leaders that are able to lean into effectiveness and efficiency, prove value, and shift into this modern way are going to succeed. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, konnichiwa, welcome. We are here at an amazing conversation right now. Top sales trends for 2023. And my name is Elay Cohen. I'm the CEO and co-founder of SalesHood. I'm so grateful to have my dear friend, Dr. Howard Dover, here with me. Please say hello.
Hi, Eli, and hi, everyone. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year, Gail.
Happy New Year. I love it. You know, we're so fortunate to have Howard, first and foremost, best-selling author, The Sales Innovation Paradox, amazing. We have UTD's in the house, University of Texas at Dallas, for over 10 years, been a director, Center for Professional Sales and a sales coach, amazing contributions to the industry, to the future of sales, sales tech, sales people, the sales profession. We're so grateful to everything you do and so grateful that you've written this book, which we're going to talk about in a moment. Anything you want to say about yourself before we dig into your book and these amazing topics of sales trends in 2023?
Yes, you're hired as my pre-announcer for every event moving forward.
I love it. I'm in San Francisco. Howard, you're in Dallas?
Dallas, Texas, and at the campus of UTD, first day of the year for me. So,
oh my God.
Yep.
UTD. I love it. And so listen, everyone, we're going to have Howard talk a little about his book. His book is incredible. And I want to just read something from it because it's pretty incredible. I'm just going to read, we have witnessed a historic and tectonic shift in the business to business sales field over the last few years. The shift is partially due to the exponential increase in technology applications and software available to assist efficiency and effectiveness. At the same time, sales enablement has gone from a marginal concept to the point where most firms, over 60%, invest in it, and over 85% report having a function dedicated to it. Furthermore, we're spending between 15 billion and 20 billion a year on sales training. And you go on and on and on. With such substantial investments in sales, we should be witnessing a corresponding increase in sales productivity. I love how you start the book. And so here we are in 23. Tell me, is your book more or less relevant right now?
Well, I think it's extremely relevant because I think a lot of leaders, a lot of investors, a lot of the C-suite is saying, hey, when the economy was good, we didn't look under the engine. We didn't ask questions, right? We were a growth mindset, and we actually hit our growth numbers, and we kind of didn't worry about productivity, efficiency, and effectiveness. Well, now everybody's saying, whoa, I don't think we can keep spending that money.
Yep.
And now they're turning around saying, well, okay, can you justify that headcount? Can you show me the productivity of the increase? And so I think we're just in this moment where everything that I talk about in the book is just going to hit leaders hard. And either you're the leader that's ahead of this curve and you're not worried at all, or you're the leader who's going, I've been playing the more game. And it's almost like, when you're playing musical chairs and then all of a sudden the music stops and you're like, uh-oh. And then you don't find a seat because you were playing a game that you didn't have to play by the modern rules. You played by classic rules. And I think we're at a pivot. I thought the pandemic was going to do it.
Yeah.
But tipping point is around the corner. The question is, are we there? And if we are, then the field makes a huge shift. And so I think either you understand those elements or you don't. And when I sit down with leaders, either they do or they don't. When I sit down with individual contributors, either they do or they don't. And those that do know how to generate revenue at much more efficiency, much more effectiveness. Those that don't are confused about why efficacy keeps dropping off.
I love the work you're doing. Everyone, the Sales Innovation Paradox, please let us send you one. And this is your Bible for how you can improve the efficiency and effectiveness of your teams, lifting the productivity and enabling technology to work for you rather than hindering you and it becoming a handicap in your go-to-market. Really, really tremendous. And so I'm excited. I like this tradition that we're starting. 23, let's look at sales trends, and we've come up with a list of trends. You ready to kind of, we're gonna go through these one at a time. And given kind of some of the thesis of the book, we thought we'd start with sales tech, right? Sales technology. What is the big kind of, what are some of the big trends that we're going to see? You hinted to a few of them already in that initial preamble. But you know, I'm going to just kick this one off and say, listen, there's a big bloat right now in the sales tech space. It seems like companies have overinvested in software. Crazy, Howard, here I am. I'm a CEO of a software company, but it's true. We get invited into companies and, hey, we have a productivity issue. We have an efficiency issue. We have an effectiveness issue. And then we say, okay, you know, let's talk about the problems. And we talk about the problems. And then we say, well, tell us about your stack. And they've got everything times 2. And we're like, okay, let's put all that aside and let's focus on solving the revenue problem. I think this is, we're at a point now, Howard, where my big sales trend around sales technology is massive consolidation. We're going to see tighter integrations in the sales tech space between the sales enablement systems, sales engagement systems, the RevOps systems, conversation. It's all going to come together, and we're going to see massive, I think I'm predicting M&A. I'm predicting a lot of consolidation in this space, because ultimately our CEOs, our CROs, our sales managers, our sellers, they need to have a single source of truth for how they're going to conduct themselves and how they're going to become more effective and efficient. That's my big thing, massive consolidation. And if you're not thinking that way already, you better be thinking that way, because someone's going to be thinking it for you. What do you think? What's your big take on sales technology?
Well, I think I want to give Jocko over at Winning by Design a little bit of a shout out, because he put out I'm calling it a manifesto, but that's probably not fair, because I thought it was a shot right before Christmas, which I'm going to say he somewhat ruined my holiday, but because he gave me homework, right? Whenever Jocko spews something like that, he must think it's important. And, you know, the one singular item that he had in that report was the investment capital going into the space. And it follows exactly what you just said, right? And I've never seen that graph before, probably because I'm over in flyover country, haha. And but you know, just this huge wave, right? Post-pandemic, there was a massive influx of capital. There was a bit of a drop. So the point solutions were still getting funded if you go 12 months, even 14, 24 months back. And with a fever pitch, right? Fever pitch investment going into the space.
Yeah.
And so now it's all dried up. So any technology that doesn't have validity, I mean, now you got to earn your ability to stay in the game. So yeah, of course, you know, a lot of people walking around and going, I mean, gee, I'm talking to a CEO of a guy that's actually making money.
Right. So, thank you.
You know, I'm sure you're getting some calls from some people going, or if you're not now, you will be in the next year, saying, hey, how about merger? How about, hey, would you like to buy us?
Yeah. Or growth equity, you know, there's a lot of that, but a lot of people are knocking. You're right, Howard.
Yeah. Because the money's dried up, right? Yeah. The money's dried up. And if we look at the layoff picture, when we look at the insular market of the SaaS space itself. So when you look at this drop off in actual funding, you have to also kind of look at that and say, well, wait a minute, that means there's a drop off in the number of seats that people are going to have, because we're going to lay people off. We don't have funding. Well, then this becomes kind of a downward spiral problem. Yeah. Because then all the companies that we're looking at the SaaS space as an internal market, specifically sales SaaS, it's a bit incestuous in there. I mean, you guys kind of play with each other and kind of buy each other's stuff. So as this spirals down, it actually is going to be a pretty rough, constant spiral. So I think consolidation makes sense out of just survival technique. Players that have been getting away with maybe saying, hey, cool, this is a little weird thing and I got some money, I think that's going away. I think good stuff's coming.
Yep.
I think good players are coming, and I think it leads kind of into
and
trend too.
and there's some amazing innovation coming, right? I think so. We're going to see tech consolidation. We are seeing a drying up of funding, and we're seeing, whatever tech you have really needs to be delivering value. And we're going to talk more about that afterwards. But let's go to the next trend, because I think, and folks, questions, route them, comments. I know there are a couple of questions. We're going to address some of the questions on some of the layoffs in a bit. The next question is about AI, right? Everyone talks about AI. What's your take on AI in 2023 in this in the sales world?
The generative AI, I think, is a tip of an iceberg. I mean, it's going to cause both innovation and problems all over the place. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a bifurcated challenge, right? So the players that know how to play this game are going to take leapfrogs forward. Some of you that are in the tech space that are really on your game, you're actually generating positive revenue. On the backside, we're going to see huge gains in API calls and the ability to integrate things.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a few steps away. When I was talking to Microsoft 3 to 4 years ago, they were already on top of this. So now that it's going out in the wild a little bit more it's more that you can actually tell the engine what to do. It was already being able to be done by the programmers. Now it's a little bit more open source. So it's going to be a lot of fun stuff. And I'm on an advisory board of another company, and I think we're just really, I don't want to say seconds, but definitely months away from some really integrated, amazing things. And unfortunately, if you're working and your job has been generating stuff that really didn't require a lot of thinking, I think you need to look at retraining. I really think you gotta lean in. I think Dave Brock dropped something this morning. I didn't get to read it, about the effective cost of marketing content just went to zero.
Yeah, because you can request something and then you're getting blogs, you're getting taglines, you're getting headlines. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm actually going to do this, and I'll tell you how it goes. Maybe we'll do a follow-up in May, or you just come to Leadership Summit in April, and I'll give a feedback. But I'm going to literally let my students generate their outbound with Chat GPT.
Yep.
And then I'm going to have them run it through Lavender.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love it.
And then I'm going to see what happens, because, right? Why wouldn't you? And of course, we're going to use some personality profiling. But we're going to give context, and we're going to play with this. We're a laboratory over here. We moved to market. The market moved. We're going to move.
Yeah, UTD and the work you're doing is world class and way ahead of what most organizations like sales teams are actually doing in real life. So kudos.
That's why we call them disruptors when they show up.
Yeah, I love it.
What do you mean you don't have SalesHood? What do you mean we don't have all these things like XIQ? What do you mean we don't have Salesforce? Come on.
It's cool. We are grateful. I know you guys are using SalesHood in your program. So listen, with AI, I love generative AI, and I think what you're talking about is super special. What I'm hearing, and what we're seeing with our customers right now and the companies we're working with, is they're looking for real practical AI use cases. And so, for example, like I was at a conference. Last. God, I guess it was last year. I was at Gerhardt's Sales 3.0 conference, and I was up there talking about sales enablement trends. And I had one trend was talking about AI, and I had a lineup of people like, oh my God, like pitch AI, it's the best thing in the world, and it's there's a use case. In the practice forum, have salespeople get AI to give them real-time feedback on their tone, on their sentiment, on words that they're using, words that they're not using, words that they should avoid. Like that's scale like we've never seen before around coaching, because you can programatize it and you can learn and get smarter. And the same with coaching feedback for managers. So I think it's going to really up everyone's game. And I'm super excited about Pitch AI, and I'm super excited about our coaching AI and content AI. And these are real use cases. So my challenge to everyone, one last comment, my challenge to everyone is, when you are talking to your vendors and when you're talking to companies and you're having these conversations, like really explore the utility and the impact that AI can have on your business and make sure that it's going to work. What were you going to say, Howard?
Well, I think there's a great book that came out by the second I saw it in the Wall Street Journal, I ordered it, by Tom Davenport about AI use cases. And he has a book that he put out with about, I think it's 52 to 100 use cases.
Wow.
And if you haven't read his previous work, which was Only Humans Need Apply, he really talks about the ability of AI to really replace the redundant function of humans, but then to augment, so the automation versus augmentation space. Yeah. So really, if you're in a space that you can clearly see that you're going to get automated away, then you need to do a pivot. But also, we need to realize that the most powerful technology for most of us in the sales space is going to be the ability to augment the capacity of the salesperson. And as you talk about Pitch AI, that's an augmentation tool to say, I'm a manager, I'm an individual contributor. I'm going to use this tool to augment my capacity to kind of teach me, train me. It's almost like going into the gym and saying, I'm going to do some boxing to kind of get my form in. Yeah. But nobody's watching me. But now I got an AI tool that'll watch me and say, hey, your focus was to not do this and do this, to change this tone and do that. And now you have somebody who can actually give you that feedback, and you can work out as long as you want. That's Absolutely. Pretty amazing. It's an augmentating test, right? That's an augmentation, it's not automating, it's augmenting the capacity to get something done better.
Yeah. And smarter and faster. Genius. I love it. I think so. We've talked about the sales tech, the sales technology stack. We've talked about AI. These are great. These are great trends. I hope folks are really appreciating. So let's go to the next one, which is all about effectiveness and efficiency. Big theme in your book, right? So for us, what we've seen in the last 6 to 9 months is organizations, like you alluded to at the beginning as well. Organizations are no longer able to grow at all costs. And so they're reducing their capacity and at the same time looking to get improved efficiency. And the only way to get it is by getting their teams to be more effective at how they sell, how they engage, how they're prospecting, how they're engaging their prospects and buyers in their actual live calls. So to me, if you're a sales leader, if you're an enablement practitioner, if you're a marketer and you're not thinking through ways to improve the efficiency of your teams through better effectiveness, content effectiveness, sales effectiveness, then I think you're missing an opportunity to really move the needle in your organization. So that's a big trend that isn't going away anytime soon. And unfortunately, I think we're going to see more layoffs before this is done. And, I think you saw the Salesforce layoff that happened. And there's more coming, as you and I both know, unfortunately. What's your take on this big, massive change in from capacity to efficiency?
Well, I think our number one challenge, and this is where the paradox came in and why I wrote the book, is we deployed technology, and what you would expect to have happen when you deploy technology is you get an efficiency gain, a productivity gain. Let's use productivity as the top level. And actually what we saw is we didn't. So what happened is most leaders added headcount. And this really over-rotated over the last 2 years. Yeah. So I have data in the book, and we've seen just a doubling down on headcount. And so what I think we've seen up to this point, so we've seen 2 models.
And basically rolling the dice, hoping.
Well, hey, if I can't get it with what I did, let's get it with a little bit more. And given the timelines that executives and leaders are staying within orgs, I don't have to pay the consequence because I'm leaving in 6 months or 12 months or 18 months, depending on whose data you're looking at, right? Right. And so the churn has been huge, therefore the consequence, and I kind of go through that in the back of the book to talk about why this is so hard at an organizational level to actually deploy a modern machine that actually works. But I think what we saw was a over-rotation on automation and efficiency. We rolled efficiency out. Anything we can efficient. I mean, if you ask, what are you talking about, Dr. Dover? Just open your inbox. Open your inbox and see the noise that things have been generating, right? Bots have been generating for quite some time. Cadence concepts, right? 66 touches, Eli. It takes 60. This is Gartner, right? Gartner came out with that. What
Crazy.
a horrible statistic. You just, how about we go and tell our buyers? I'd love to do a buyer campaign that says, get ready. All the sales B2B leaders were just told to touch you 66 times to get a meeting. Welcome to your nightmare that's coming.
Right.
And so we automated those touches. That's why it takes longer, Eli. It's why it takes longer. And 78%, according to Gartner, doesn't want a salesperson. They want a rep-free experience. Why? Because they hate the rep experience. It's not because they want a rep-free experience. They hate the rep experience. There's no value. So now let's turn it around. So if we turn it around, this is what Microsoft did.
Yeah.
And it's just mind-blowing. They said, let's focus on effectiveness. Let's focus on messaging. Let's focus on relevancy to the customer. Then let's automate. So let's go for effectiveness and then layer efficiency on top. Oh my goodness. Whenever an organization does this, we get a multiple of 6 to 10x. And by the way, I've documented that over and over and over again, including my own students. My own students go out there and 6x and 10x their peers because we didn't focus on automation, right?
Yeah.
We focused on effectiveness and relevance, and then we enhanced it with technology to speed the ability to generate the inbound and to be on top of it. I don't say we perfected it. I mean, I don't have 15 sales analytics people on my team. It's
right.
So it's my job, right? So
you're teaching them to get the message right, to personalize it, make it relevant. And
situationalize it, not just personalize it. Personalization, and then
no, you're right. Yeah, high insert name is not going to work,
my friend.
Yeah.
So we're saying yes, personalization, not only to title but to personality, to who would actually move the market, and then situational reality. Where are you at in the buying journey?
Yeah.
I mean, that's now complex to teach because we would prefer a methodology. Because methodologies are easy, which moves us to
right. And so I just want to before we move to kind of sales process and methodology, because I think there is heavy investments being made right now in those areas. I will just add a couple. Folks are loving, the augmentation versus automation comments that you made on AI, and you got someone saying, "Gene, hello, 66 sounds like a nightmare," but you're right; these are real stats. So no, this is great. So listen, we're working through some of these trends. We're hoping this conversation is insightful to each of you as you're thinking about your strategies, your go-to-market, your everything you're trying to do. And listen, sales process. So now we're moving beyond just efficiency and effectiveness. Let's talk about methodology and sales process. What's in store for us in 23, you think?
I think winners and losers are going to be declared in 2023. If you've got a modern process ready to go, you're going to, Chris Beal's a controversial guy, but I love his concept of market dominance, right? If you've got a good game plan and you can move faster than your peers, you're going to dominate that market. And I think those who know what to do are going to rise at this moment. They're going to dominate their markets because they can. They can dominate the market. Lots of people are laying off both good and bad people.
Yeah.
And so if I'm opportunistic at this moment and I have the right strategy, I didn't overhire over the last few years, I right hired, I'm going to be able to up my game and get market dominance. And so we're going to have those who understand the modern game plan and have harnessed the technology. By the way, my perspective on this is I'm being generous, is between 5 to 6% of sales orgs. I've heard it as low as 1%. I've heard it as high as 10%. But I think it's low. So a vast majority of the market is stuck in a classic methodology, classic motions, and they're going to be in a huge challenge unless they break into modern frameworks which they'll find a massive lift. But this is hard because here's the thing, Eli, this is why it's so hard.
Yeah.
Where did the executive get the credentials to be an executive right now? They got it in a non-modern world, pre-generative AI, pre-pitch AI,
pre-digital selling, pre-digital buyer engagement, pre-automated cadences.
That's where they got their credentials.
Yeah.
So and now it takes a great leader, and there are great leaders all over the place, but it takes a great leader to say, yes, I have my credentials. Yes, I achieved that objective. Yes, I did the Aaron Ross 10 years ago, but that is not what we do today. And I'm willing to work with you in the foxhole with the group, looking at sales analytics, probing and adjusting my strategy constantly to the market movements, knowing that everybody else in the classic space is going to move their sequences to 66 because Gartner said so.
Crazy.
That's just mind blowing. You just see it right now that we almost want to call over to Outlook and say, hey, what's the average sequence?
My God.
Customer base.
Wow.
Mary Shea, if you're listening, can you get us that stat?
Yeah, I love it. Listen, sales process, sales methodology. I think it is so critical that leaders, CEOs, and this is a CEO level, kind of challenge to align the organization on a motion that's going to bring marketing and sales together around a modern view into the digital, into the buyer journey, and then introducing some of these new modern concepts, digital sales rooms, buyer sites, chat GPT, there's so much here that modern leaders need to embrace, but they got to have a foundational sales process and methodology that everybody in the organization is aligned with, and that way they're all kind of steering the same way. And I think it's so critical. We have a lot of companies coming to us right now and wanting to reimagine, wanting to relaunch, their process, their methodology, but doing it in a modern way, and just wanting that input. Like, how should we be rethinking and reimagining our process and our buyer journey? And there's a lot of, but not every leader, like you said. Not every leader, and this is going to be a haves and has not. So the organizations that lean into modern buyer journey and that lean into updating and improving their sales process and methodology and embrace fundamental concepts like buyer sites and digital selling will win. Because guess what? Like you said, what was that stat? 70% of buyers don't want to engage their sellers.
78%.
And these are stats. McKinsey, Gartner, they're all over this. And this is why they're really trying to educate us on the importance of modernizing your sales process. So this is a huge trend. Go ahead.
So let me pre-pandemic, I get up on the stage and I was trying this material, and I actually I told my wife I wouldn't get on the stage again until I wrote a book, because I got off the stage and I had good response, and an MBA team contacted me afterwards and said, "Oh, by the way, thank you. Based off your presentation, I feel justified in ending all activities." And I said, "Whoa, whoa, I didn't say that." And we got on the phone, and it was interesting because we had a briefing, and he said, "Well, let me tell you what I mean by that." He said, "We used to track activities, and that was our driver, right?" Because Jason Jordan put out a great book called Cracking the Sales Management Code. And I hang around Jason's neck that it's his fault that we track activities now. It was great, and it is great until that's the only thing you're doing.
Right.
And he said, so we went ahead and we said, no more activity tracking, period. You get, I think it was at the time, he said, you get $1,500 in merchandise and or tickets and or whatever we have to give to a guest, and you don't have to ask. And you go approach the customer in the best way possible. And he said, you know what happened within the last 6 months? He said, we are the most profitable company in the MBA, and we've had a losing season every year. He said, all the other MBA teams are coming to us and saying, how are you doing it? Because can you imagine that? Instead of 66 activities, I call up Eli and I say, Eli, Golden State Warriors, hey, Eli, we got some lower bowl tickets available for the game on Friday night. Would you and one of your family members like to come join us? On me.
Right.
And I'll see you, I'll see you, right at the break, right? And so they see you right at the beginning and say, hey, Eli, great to see you here. So glad to have you here. By the way, can I get you a couple of drinks? Can I what's your favorite, who's your favorite person? Maybe looks at your child and says, who's your favorite person on the team? And then they come back with a jersey.
Wow.
And give it to him and then say, hey, enjoy the rest of the game. No pitch, right?
No pitch.
Now,
customer
Eli,
for life, by the way, customer for life.
Yeah. So Eli, just a question. Are you going to take that phone call?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the person follows up to say, hey, Eli, I wanted to talk to you about the game and just get your view. And by the way, you have SalesHood, don't you? Wouldn't you like to entertain clients like that?
Yeah.
I noticed you don't have an account with us, but
Yeah. No, listen.
And listen, they blew it open. Now, here's the amazing thing. You ready for it?
Yeah.
30% less headcount. I'm sorry, 1/3 the headcount of the average MBA team. And outperforming them all. That's a fun story, right? These are people who understand relevancy, situational, and not forming the activity.
So what a phenomenal story, right? And how did you get there, right? It's through training. It's through identifying the skills and competencies that you need to differentiate in the marketplace, which leads us to our next big trend, which is all about skills. And I love it. Thanks for sharing that story. It's perfect because, all too often folks are, setting up their cadences and hoping people respond and scheduling a meeting and forgetting the human aspect of what it takes to actually be a salesperson today. And so what I've seen as a trend around skills training is a massive increase in spend in people investing in their people, in organizations investing in their people. And reinforce, I got a text this morning on a new McKinsey stat. Thank you, Larissa. 97% of B2B sales organizations rank reskilling as their top priority in 23. And 50%, greater than 50% believe their reps don't have the capabilities to succeed in 23. We got to invest in our people. You're a believer. I'm a believer. And so the amount of organizations that have rolled out kickoffs and mid-year QBRs in this last 6 months, where the theme is investing in you. And so in the context of the layoffs, let's remember that organizations are shifting their focus to ensure that they can lift the effectiveness of their people so they can ultimately improve the efficiency. Big trend. What do you think? What's your take?
So first off, you have purview into that better than I do. So thank you for the data. So coming back to this concept that 90 something percent of the orgs are in the classic space. So training people in what doesn't work doesn't change doesn't change. So I see this as the next iteration of more. So I'm gonna reduce my head count. So I'm gonna spend more on training. And by the way, one of the reasons we need to spend more on training, Eli, is because we have an SDR explosion where most people don't know how to sell. They just know how to do transactional meeting setting.
Yeah.
So we have an untrained sales force now for the last 5 to 10 years. So we actually have lost the art of the actual sale. So kind of the fundamental stuff that you and I know, the basics of whether it's spin, whether it's medic, whether it's challenger, just the basic methodologies. We actually threw those all away for hacks to be able to get a meeting. And hacks to get 1 or 2 seats, and then
you're so right.
So are we shocked that we need training now? I mean, of course we do, but this is my prediction. We're actually not going to get any better unless the training is modern training. And here's the rub. And this is going to address exactly. So somebody put in something about sales enablement.
Yeah.
And are we going to see a drop in sales enablement? And I'm going to be, this is where I can be professor and not affiliated to a brand. And hopefully I don't damage yours by saying it. If you're relevant and modern in enablement, don't worry, you're in desperate need. People need you desperately right now. But if all you've been doing is cranking out classic minutia and stuff that doesn't work and preaching the 66 touches, I think I'd be worried about whether I'm needed, because I can't prove efficacy. If I can prove efficacy, I'm needed all day long. If I can show you how to do, that story with the MBA is mind blowing. The story with Microsoft is mind blowing. Some of the stuff I've seen at your conference, at the Multipliers conference, is mind blowing. The kind of performance we get out of people when we actually do modern things, as opposed to, see, here's the problem, Eli. We're in a cycle where we hack it. We scale, we discover it, right? We go, oh, hey, I did that. Oh, I found it. It worked. So we find it. So we nail it, then we scale it. But what we're finding out is that when we scale it, we actually fail it. So we actually have to scale the right thing. And so training, more money in training is scary and great. But I think it's the next iteration of more. And if you look at if you look at those dynamics, 80, 90% is stuck in classic, it's actually going to double down on the wrong thing. So a lot of these companies are actually going to pay for a lot of training that doesn't work. Not from you. In fact,
clearly not.
To be honest with you, Eli, if you didn't have SalesHood, you'd be making bank as a consultant right now. I know how to put this together, but
organization. I think you're raising a really good point, right? I think you're so right. The right training, right?
Training.
And so, we're shifting to
the right training.
Digital buyer engagement. So we need to integrate digital selling with the motion and modern buyer's journey. It needs to be in the context of a company's go-to-market. It can't just be train people on video prospecting. It's got to be purposeful, intentional, right? We need to be teaching people right now on value selling. Right. We need to teach people to be able to take a step back, ask questions, be curious. We need to teach people how to build real relationships in a digital world. Yes. Right. These are, and I'm just listing some of the skills. Every company has a different motion, different target buyer, but you got to be smart about the kind of training. You bring up an amazing point, and I love that.
So I'm gonna respond to Jean, because she said, "Can we define modern training?" And you're not going to like this answer, but I think it's the right answer.
Yeah.
And I point out that we don't know how to train people on the skills we need today, and then we start there.
I agree.
But we have so much technology. If for those of you who are Marvel fans, I love the Iron Man analogy, because if you watch Robert Downey Jr. when he first created the second one and he tries to fly it, he almost kills himself in his basement, right? Yeah. He hits the wall. He doesn't know how to fly. I mean, come on. He got out of prison in Russia with
Yeah.
If you follow the story, if you don't go watch it, and then you get context, but we're in the equivalent of an Iron Man suit. We can augment people on the fly. We can do all these things, and yet we're going to, no offense to medic, but I'm just going to pick on it. And we're going to teach people medic. I'm sorry. Yes, that's a baseline, but we got to get past that and say, well, okay, but what does the customer really care about, given the fact that they're being touched 66 times by everybody else?
Yeah.
They don't care about you. They don't care about you unless you're relevant. Then you're so essential to me, right?
Yeah.
We're essential to each other, my friend, because we're relevant to each other, right?
Totally. Absolutely. Wow. There's so much here. So Cheryl asked the question. Cheryl, we've got some competency and role-based templates around the skills that are required in a modern journey. So great request. And we will do that. The modern training, right? There is what topics are relevant in a modern world? How do they fit in with the buyer's journey? And then how is the training delivered? How are we verifying competence and competence? It's not enough to give someone a video, watch a video, do a quiz and check a box and then tell everyone, hey, we just trained everyone, right? No way.
No way.
Like The pitch AI is going to help a little bit to scale kind of what good training should look like in that real-time feedback. But folks need to practice. They need to role play. They need to learn from each other. They need to do that in real time. They need to share best practices. Even that Lavender example where you're going to do ChatGPT and Lavender, it's great. Go do that, but then come together and have a conversation around what's working, what's not working, and iterate and tweak it.
So number one thing from my class, and you're going to love this because it comes from your book.
Yeah. Thank you.
And it's, I instituted sales huddles the second you put that in your book. Your book is a Bible, my friend. It's just so great. Every page of it was turned over, and it completely changed some of the things I did in class. I'm not just buttering you up. It's real true. And by the way, my students always say every single eval cycle, I wish we did more huddles.
Oh.
Because you know what happens is, and you're talking about it, right? We learn, we deploy, and then we pull back and we say, hey, what's working? This is called probing and adjusting, right? You probe into the market as a group, you come back and you huddle. You won, I lost, but we did the same thing. Wait a minute, what's up with that? I love that in your book when you talk about the fact that the losses are as important as the wins, because sometimes you win and you did the wrong thing, and a lot of times you lose and you did the right thing. So you got to probe and adjust, and then you come back together and you say, hey, how did that work? How did that work? And then you move them back out. Now, how hard is that? It's simple if you've got good management, right? Frontline sales managers, and back to enablement folks. Yeah. The enablement folks, when you're talking about trying to deploy a strategy, trying to get these things done, you really have to hook in that frontline sales manager. You have to hook in those training leaders who are in their early cycles. Don't just push activity, push learning during that cycle where you're going out. I mean, you and I know this, and I formed an institute late last year because my goal for the next 4 to 5 years is to both study outbreaks, who's doing this, and then how do we harness this and how do we train for it? Yeah. And whoever is breaking out, if you're a training company, contact me. I'd love to see what you're doing. I don't want to be a training company. I'm not that good. I'm not that funny.
This is what are you seeing the chat kind of light up right now? There's a lot of great
comments. It's going like crazy. So we're going to have to lean on Larissa to tell us what we got to.
So listen, let's do a little recap, right? And so I think
we're going to hit talent. Please tell me we're going to hit talent.
Okay, we're going to hit talent.
We're going to hit talent. I promise we'll do it quick.
We're gonna hit talent. So listen, let's jump into talent. What's going to happen to talent in 23?
It's huge, right? Because we're going to have a huge reshuffling of the market.
Yeah.
The challenge will be a lot of CFOs appropriately are saying, "Hey, I gave you a lot of money. You didn't deliver. I'm not going to give you money anymore." Right? And this is going to be across the board. Sales overplayed its hand, didn't deliver. Now they're going to get hit, and they're getting hit. Listen, that's okay. Those who didn't overplay their hand probably aren't getting hit as hard. So it isn't about headcount anymore. It's about the right people.
Yeah. In the right role,
and investing in those people. That's the key. It's the key. It's not, I don't need more people. I don't need less people. I need the right people on the bus. I'm looking forward to those discussions with my companies as they come and say to me, hey, I'm not hiring for 2023. And I'm going to say, really? Are you sure you got the right people?
Yeah.
Because I'm producing disruptors that will completely throw your thing on the head. And, those who want to have me, I've got it down to where I can have about 5 interviews with a company. I can decipher where their challenges are. I did that with a Fortune 10 over the summer, testing the materials in the book. And in a very short order, we could identify where they were struggling to move to modern and where the inertia was sitting and where the organization really had to look at a game plan. So anybody want that, reach out to me.
Yeah, it's
happy
great.
to talk to you. We should talk offline about collaborating in that space. But let's go.
Interesting. It's so interesting, the talent. I had a conversation with a CRO late last week, and as a lot of CROs now, a lot of sales leaders, CEOs are looking at their install base. And they're realizing they got to get their salespeople and their SDRs to be more install base focused, to do more farming, right? And you can't just say that and assume it's going to work. Those are different skills. They're different relationship building skills, different communication skills, different customer engagement skills. And that's what you mean when you say there is going to be a shuffling. And go ahead.
The right people is the challenge.
Yeah. Right people, right role, right. That can actually target the right buyer and that can have the right conversations. This is an opportunity to up level. This is an opportunity to up level. But I love what you said, but you got to invest in your people.
Yeah, you got to invest in your people on multifaceted space. And so let's go to questions because I know we need to.
Absolutely.
We got a really
listen,
hot chat.
Just as a quick recap, right? We went through, pretty quickly, but thoughtfully, and I hope folks appreciate kind of some of the mega sales trends that we're seeing, right? We started with the sales technology, kind of consolidation and feature bloat and so many systems, and really hoping folks are taking some guidance there to kind of consolidate and rationalize their stacks. And let me tell you this. If you've got a stack right now and you're not thinking about how to rationalize it, the problem is someone is going to think about it for you, and that's not going to feel too good. And so if you need some help to help consolidate, rationalize, think through what a modern sales tax would look like, let us know. Sales is here to help, right? AI, look for those specific use cases that are going to help drive value into your business, whether it's pitch AI, whatever the AI is. Make sure it's adding value. I love what you talked about with generative AI. And then we got to focus on effectiveness, in order to get more efficient. So critical. Messaging, relevancy, situationally, those are specific things we got to teach our people, which leads us into the skills. Skills, we talked about upskilling our people. We talked about process, having the right process. This has been amazing. And then clearly having the right people, right talent, right people, right roles. That's just a quick recap of some of the big mega trends that we're seeing. And there's your book.
And Eli has, I like my friend Eli. I love when he buys me dinner in San Francisco and in San Antonio. And so Eli would like to buy you a book.
Absolutely.
Even if you have a book, Eli would like to buy you a book so you can give the one you have to somebody else, because the way we move the field forward is that we have conversations. My book is not all inclusive, but I think the goal was that it would start a discussion. So more than happy to talk offline. Best place to contact me is at UTD, or at LinkedIn is really my home. That's the best place to get to me. And if you want to follow what we're doing, just follow hashtag UTD sales. And love SalesHood. We've had Eli here many times to do sales enablement hours at our leadership summits, and love the sales enablement community, and challenge all of us. We're in a moment where we can rise to the moment, or we can be frustrated by the moment. And if those are frustrated by the moment, reach out to Eli and I, because it's a pivot. It's not an impossible pivot, but it is a pivot. And once you see it, you'll get very excited about the opportunity versus the frustration of what's happening.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, we are in a world now where the leaders that are able to lean into effectiveness and efficiency, prove value, and shift into this modern way are going to succeed. And Howard's book, all the resources we have, the SalesHood platform, all of our materials, everything is here. You've got two folks here that we care so much about the industry. We care so much about your success, about the success of the future generations of the sales profession. So we're here to support each and every one of you in your journey. So please don't hesitate to reach out. This was a great session. I do want to take a moment. We'll go to questions, but I do want to take a moment and formally thank you, Howard. Dr. Howard Dover. Let's give him a round of applause. Thanks for being here with us. Thanks for sharing your insights. Remarkable.
Thank you.
Remarkable. So
it's fun when we see. The thing is, people don't know we have these kind of conversations a lot. A lot of us do behind the scenes. This is just an opportunity for people to listen to our argument / discussion, right?
I love it. All right. So thank you, everyone. And at this point, we'll open up the floor to if there are any additional questions that folks have that they want to hear from us in the last remaining minutes.